I want to talk to you about the title of today's talk was Marketing by Design, not by chance. The reason for that, being a strategy-based company, I see so much these days, people are actually going and doing marketing as opposed to planning and doing as well. So I want to go back as to why you need to rethink that today. And so what I want to talk today about is some of the things that happen in the market. Technology, Cannon was talking about technology, major changes to the way firms operate, right? The way we did business 15, 20 years ago, not just in law firms, everywhere, has changed remarkably. Customers these days are self-serve. Right? They go and find things and come to you and say, I found this, what do you think? You're no longer the experts necessarily. They're much more savvy. They've researched stuff online. I mean, the statistics say that 70% of the sale has happened before they even come to you. That's changed totally to what used to happen before. Sorry, let's get back to that. And lawyers need to become marketers. Sounds a bit scary, doesn't it? You all need to market your business and think about how you market it. So what I want to do today is focus on three outcomes. Try and understand the changes that are happening, assess where you are and give you some tools to do that, then give you a practical framework for how you change what you're doing. So the three outcomes I want you to think about and take away at the end of the day. So let's go through first of all where we are. To get this talk ready today, I did a little bit of research on some of the papers around the place talking about law firms, what's happening, etc. This was one that was done a couple of years ago. It's not surprising, right? Firms that do not embrace technology will find it necessarily difficult to compete. Has everyone found that? You've got technology in the business, but you're just not quite sure what to do with it. And what's happened is a lot of law firms have got technology in the business, but not applied the same technology to their marketing and business development. It's about practice efficiency, about scanning documents, but not applying it to your marketing and business development. And that's what you really need to rethink. The second thing is, and I talked about this before, using it as a learning tool, accessing online products has become, I will call it rampant, it's become the way people do business. And that's the regular first step now. No matter what your relationship with the client is, that's the regular first step. Your customers, your prospects are now out there finding legal solutions, or think they are, online. Same's happening in medical practice as well. Happens everywhere. This is some interesting research from the Compact. Has anyone seen this report? Sorry, I'll get it anyway. Compact Legal Market Pulse. It's a survey they do of medium to large firms, and it talks about different aspects of firms. The first one is what the outlook for expenses is. So what legal firms are going to be spending over the next 12 months as priorities. Salaries was an important one, IT and technology, and marketing and business development. That's one of the growth areas. So what you guys have got is you're competing with the rest of the market on increased spending. So you need to think wisely about how you actually spend that. The other thing was top 3 business challenges. I found this really interesting. And I'm not sure, I'm probably blocking you seeing there. This is a trend from 2017 to 18. Interesting, less firms thought it was harder to find new business. I find that remarkable. Have you guys found it easier or harder to find new business over the last 12, 24 months? Harder, yeah. I would have thought so too. So I can never explain the statistics, but I would have thought it's harder. That's one of the biggest challenges, right? There's more competition out there. It's more fragmented out there. There's lots of individual little firms setting up as well. People left large firms. The market is fragmenting. So it's really hard to compete and win new business. The other thing is too, that clients are willing to switch firms much more easily. And that happens across the marketplace, not just in legal firms. I'm no longer loyal to a brand or a client. I'm willing to switch more often. So that means you need to think about not only retaining clients, but what is your opportunity to be in front of those people who are thinking about switching? So previously you'd almost wait till you got a referral or someone else, this person, you now need to be in front of your prospect pool, if you want to call it, on a regular basis. So when they are ready to switch, they're thinking of you at top of mind. That's a really important part, that ongoing content as well. The other thing too, that they're channeling profit into planning, which I think is a major change I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years with firms as well. When considering the outlook, almost all firms are planning to invest more heavily in salaries, technology, and marketing, amongst other areas. So they're planning how they're going to do it, not just spending this year's expenses plus 10%, which used to be the trend, right? So what does all that mean? What it means is you need a strategic approach. The old school was a sales-driven approach. For example, I'd go to a networking event or I'd meet someone and say, here's what we offer, let's have a conversation about it, tell me a little bit about your business, and that's a sales-driven approach. But also too, there's a belief that clients will come and stay with us. That's gone. That's out the window. That's disappeared. It just doesn't hold true anymore. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, it needs to think about a strategic approach, and the approach we recommend for people, let's move over here for a minute, is a 5-step approach of understanding about your business. Impact is which customers will impact your profitability and you can impact them, come up with ideas to market to them, integrating that into a plan, then implementing and measuring that. So that's the framework I want to run through with you today, rather than just jumping straight over here. So how am I going to market the firm? Am I going to do advertising? Am I going to go out and do networking? Am I going to join Rotary? Am I going to bid for tenders? That's focusing on here without considering what your business goals are here, which customers will really impact your business, then ideas, then putting that together and integrating it. I mean, so many businesses and firms we see have got a presence on LinkedIn, they've got a website over here, they've got a brochure over there, they're doing something else over here, and it's just not consistent with messaging or who they're targeting. So you really need to integrate that together. And then finally, there's no good having a great plan unless you implement them. So let's talk through a bit of that framework and what it means. First one, I want you to think about a business target. I'm still surprised at the number of businesses I work with when I say, where do you want to be in 12 months' time? Tell me what your revenue target is in 12 months' time. Some people will say, oh, I want to be here. I say, okay, that's great. You want to be here, where are you now? What is your revenue per client? And therefore, how many clients or matters do you need to get from where you are to where you want to go? So what's your desired revenue? Your desired revenue is desired matters. So what number of new clients or matters do you need? The other thing too is there's an equation that people quite often miss. It's not what you need, what you really need. The reason is if you've got $1 million revenue now, you've got 100 matters or clients a year, turning over $10,000. I like to work in zeros, it makes it easy for me to calculate. And you want to grow that to 2 million, you will need 200 of those, right? That's pretty easy. But the reality is, not all of that is repeat business, right? It's not necessarily going to be recurring every year. So if you've got non-recurring revenue of 700,000, you don't need 1 million extra, you need 1.3 million extra. So you need to be doing these calculations in your business to say, what do I really need? And base it not on dollars, on clients or matters. Because you win jobs or you get clients, you don't win dollars. So having these key numbers, and by the way, don't worry about notes, we've got a copy that's going out to everyone later on, so that's fine. So you need to think about those numbers, but think about what's non-recurring rather than just recurring revenue as well. The other thing too, in that insight stage, that's about the numbers part, you need to get clear about what services and what products you offer. Conveyancing, for example, we were talking about conveyancing before, but what does that mean? To me as a client, conveyancing is not what I need, unless someone who's going to prepare my contract for sale, someone who's going to help me when I'm buying. They're the products or services from a consumer viewpoint. In family law, it's such a broad area. I don't need family law, I need something about parenting, or I need something about advice, I need arbitration, whatever I need. So you've got to get your products and services clear in their words, not in yours. And you can easily research that and find it on Google, what people are searching for, but in their words. Then what you need to do, and what I always start a project is looking at what marketing and sales support you have, and then looking at that. So get out your brochures, your website, and say, how clear is it in relation to this? What is the purpose of that piece of marketing material? And what results am I getting from it? You know, I've got this brochure or this website or this LinkedIn profile. What am I actually getting out of it? If you're investing time in something, make sure you're getting a result from it and you're actually measuring it as well. And look at that across web, your social media, including, and your offline stuff as well. I mean, if you're networking or meeting referral partners, what results are you getting out of it? How often do you meet with a referral partner for a coffee, for example, and talk about growing business together and nothing ever happens? Look at those things. Clarity, purpose, results across all of your marketing. So that's the insight stage. Then your brand. What does your brand stand for? A lot of people, I think, think a brand is very esoteric. To me, brand is really simple. It's who you are, what makes you different, and its consistency of that brand as well. Not just the visual look, what you're saying and the way you say it. So have a look at your LinkedIn profile of how you describe the business and what you do. Have a look at your website and have a look at your brochure and say, are they the same message? Are they the same colours, the same look? But more importantly, are they the same message? But more important, brand can be very internally focused on what I'm all about. As a customer, I really don't care about that. I care about what makes you the right choice for me. So your brand might appeal to women aged 25 to 45 with the look, the colours and the words. If your target audience is males who are business owners, it's the wrong choice for that target. So think about your brand, not just about you, but about who your target customers are in terms of doing it. So that's the first stage, 1 of 5 insight. The next one is who to target. So to help achieve my goal of $2 million, what existing customers do I have? That shouldn't be retailer, that should be cross-selling to existing customers. Retainers, that should be, I'm sorry, I apologise for the typo. So retainers, who are retained clients that I'm going to have revenue next year, and what cross-selling opportunities do I have? Remember I talked about defining those products or services? I see so often in firms they become so siloed because of the way you actually work. So look at what products people have and what they don't have, and look at where the business opportunities are, rather than always chasing new clients. Also for new customers, what verticals are they in if you're focused on business to business? And who are the influencers as well as the decision makers of those clients? If you're targeting consumers, look at the demographics, their geography or their age. So who are you going to target? That's a really easy thing for a marketing guy to say, right? How do you practically do that? The way we practically do that is actually look at clients. So we say all the clients over the last year, list them from highest to lowest revenue, 1 to 20. Then work out what industry they're in, what sales you do with them annually, how often they buy, if you can put a cost against it, very often you can't do that, and what their sales are since they've been a customer. That exercise should take about 40 minutes if you've got the right accounting software. Then what you can do is go through that and say, okay, that person, that industry, you will find a pattern in there. That pattern is your ideal client because they're the people who are giving you revenue and giving you sales now. So from that you can say, okay, they're an ideal client because they give me sales, why don't I get more of those? Otherwise, when someone like a marketing person asks you, who's your ideal client, people say, probably the last client you had, who you thought of, or someone who you'd really like to have. But you're not servicing those people now. You're appealing to those people and they're buying off you because you're providing a service. So that sort of simple spreadsheet analysis is a great way to actually start. The next one too is what don't they buy from you? So the way we actually do this, if we take those same 20 customers, we look at all the products and services they're buying. And you'll say, yes, they buy contract services, commercial lawyer, but they don't use us for HR and employment law. They're a personal customer, they use us for the conveyancing, but they never use us for family law or for leases or something. Look at the products and services each of those clients have, and then you can work out where the gaps are to be able to target them. That simple little exercise, I guarantee, will add anywhere from 15 to 20% revenue. Because all of a sudden you've got a clear picture in one mind. So often I see in all businesses, they talk about cross-selling, particularly in professional services, but it's hard to map, what do I cross-sell? I mean, banks will sit down and calculate that Kim Heffernan is worth $15 a year in profit to them. And then they'll say, okay, Kim doesn't buy insurance, so I'll send him an insurance brochure. But they don't know why Kim buys insurance, what they buy, and how valuable it is. It's not a dollar thing, it's about a relationship thing. So when you're looking at cross-selling, the other mistake that quite often happens is, and this is a cultural thing to some extent as well, is the person who's got that existing relationship, say the employment lawyer, they have the relationship with it. The property or contract guy wants an introduction. It's just an introduction. And I as a client think, well, they're just trying to flog me something. You need to have both parties committed to it, the employment lawyer and the property lawyer, both going to see the client, because that's where the relationship is. And that's a real cultural change. or alternatively, in the firm find a champion for cross-selling, which is what I've done a number of accounting firms, who champions the whole cross-selling. They're a relationship manager that explains to the client what the firm does on a whole basis. Difficult to do. If you're a single practice, you are it. You're a relationship guy, you're an employment guy and the property guy, right? But think about it in those terms with cross-selling, and that will make a major difference. I'll just stop. Any questions so far? All stunned. Yes, please.
What you're saying is focus on the clients you have rather than going out and getting more business?
I'm saying focus on the clients you have first. Yeah, first. You still have to go out and get more business. Because you will do this exercise here and do a calculation, for example, of what you can get from existing clients. If you go back to your target we did at the beginning, is that gap is what you need to get in new business. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
I had a client at a
Yeah.
firm I know quite well that had a series of national offices, and we invited one of the clients to the main Christmas party in the city one time. We actually ended up annoying and losing the client because they hadn't realised we had a national firm. They'd been buying from this local office, and the partner there had kept them as their tight little thing, and actually they were exposed to this wider thing they could have used for years, and actually got annoyed that we hadn't showed that to them.
And I think those changes I talked about before at the beginning have got to change, and they are changing culturally within firms as well. I mean, accounting firms are now opening legal divisions, right? That's a great example of cross-selling. So you've got competition from everywhere, not only internally in the profession, externally as well. The other thing to think about too, remember I went back to that picture I had a moment ago. If you need 20 clients, right, it doesn't mean you only see 20 people. This is the challenge, right? To get 20 clients, you may have to do 40 fee proposals. Do 40 fee proposals, you may have to get 100 inquiries. So when you think about that number of new clients you need to think about, you need to be thinking about this top line level up here. And then think of multiple ways you're going to get inquiries and leads. So networking events, your website, whatever they may be, make sure you've got not just one way of getting more clients. If you rely totally on referrals, for example, what will happen is if that referral source dries up, your number of new leads dries up. I'm sure you guys know this from a sales viewpoint, right? You live by it. So think about all of those, and you might then say, well, if I need 100 inquiries, I'm going to get 10 from this one, 2 from that, 5 from that, 6 from that, and set yourself a target and then measure that each month on how it's performing. And the ones that aren't performing, you drop. But don't start with 10, too hard. Start with 2 or 3 only, and then grow and test it. But make sure you focus on the number of inquiries you need, not the number of clients you need as well. Really, really important mistake. Because what will happen at the end of the year, you'll only get a fifth of what you need to have. That's the end result of what you'll do with that. You also need to think about these numbers here. I don't know how many of you actually measure this, and it sounds daunting, but it's not. Okay, someone calls in and makes a phone call and makes a web inquiry, just record it somewhere. Then at the end of the month, you've got all the inquiries and calls you got. Here's how many proposals I did. That conversion rate there is really important. Because if you can change that conversion rate from 40 to 50, I need 80, not 100. But if you're not measuring it, how can you actually change it? So make sure you're measuring the number of inquiries or leads you get, and then look at that conversion rate. And also this one here. If you change these percentages of conversion here, you'll actually change the numbers. You'll need less up here. But if you're not measuring it, you won't know. So it's not that hard to say how many proposals I did and then how many clients I got out of that over a time period. It's a really simple equation. And that's a really key basic thing you really need in terms of that. The next thing is, okay, we know a bit about the firm, what our targets are, what our brand is. We also know which clients are going to have the most impact on getting that. What are our ideas to attract and educate and engage? Remember I spoke before, people look online. It's no longer about selling. It's about how do I attract them, educate them, not about your firm, about their problem, really specific about that. And also how do I engage them into reading my solution, reading what I do, understanding more about what I do. So there's 3 different areas that we look at. Number 1 is digital content. So it's written content on your website, for example. Video is becoming increasingly important. But if you're a small firm, you just don't have time for video usually. Everyone says video is great, but if you're a small to medium-sized firm, you may not have the time to do that. You've got to do stuff that you're comfortable with as well. If you're comfortable writing, write. If you're uncomfortable in front of a video, Don't stand up and do video. It won't work. You'll feel uncomfortable, it'll come across uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing and time to do that. What images are you going to use to portray the film? Everything is visual these days. Websites, all the content is very visual. No one wants to read 2,000 words. A simple infographic or diagram that explains it. And then look at your content across the website, any ads you run, blogs, email, SEO or search engine, and video content especially, as I said, is important. That's the stuff you need to think about from a digital viewpoint. Then from a social content viewpoint, written, video, images and audio again. Just a really quick one, by the way. I've seen a lot of firms struggle with blogs, for example. How do I find time to write it? One of the best ways I found for people to do that is a really quick tip. If you're used to speaking, record it, send it overseas to rev.com. It's $1 a word, and for $50 you have your blog written, you can come back and edit it. Rather than you have to sit there for 3 hours trying to work it out. Really quick tip to do that. Think about social media, not just Facebook, LinkedIn, and what I publish. It's about social selling now. Okay? If you want a particular target you're going to connect with, how are you going to reach out to the person connect with on LinkedIn? Have a conversation on social media, but how do I get them off LinkedIn to a face-to-face conversation? One of the things I struggled with for a number of years was building lots of LinkedIn connections. People got LinkedIn connections? Yeah? What do you do to get them off LinkedIn to meet with them face to face? It's great that I got 2,000 LinkedIn connections, but how much damn business does it bring? And who am I connected to? If it brings, you said you use LinkedIn for business?
Yeah, like I was at a seminar saying, Kerwin Ray was talking about when you do that,
Yeah.
ask a question in the video.
Yes.
Say, I'll respond to you direct message based on your question. So he puts a question out, what's the most important thing to your business?
Yep.
And then,
Great point.
You get them off the LinkedIn, you ask for their mobile and email, and
Yep.
you put it in your database and you get your sales team to follow up.
Great point. Great point. And that's a really important thing to depict with social media. They are platforms owned by other people, by Facebook, by LinkedIn, by Twitter. You should always, from a strategy viewpoint, think about getting back to your owned media, which is your website effectively. So think about how you're going to do that. Because if Facebook changes their rules, or LinkedIn changes their rules, you're stuffed. That's happened to a lot of businesses, basically. Think about the connection, not about selling. It's about education and engagement. Social is not about, here's what I am. Has anyone got, LinkedIn, accept the LinkedIn connection? Next thing you know, here's what I do. I would like to know. And you know what the very first thing I do is? I actually delete them from my LinkedIn profile. I never used to. Or I ignore them. It just switches off straight away. But if someone says to me, like, here's the event I'm running in 2 weeks, I don't want to hear that. Here's something I thought would be useful for you, a guide or whatever. That's okay. I know it's silly. I'm not stupid, right? If someone says, here's a guide on conveyancing, for example, I know they're trying to sell me something, but it's also useful as well. So that's that useful educational content. And then think about where your customers are. Now, if you're in commercial business to business, Facebook is a great advertising medium. I'm not even going to cover that now, but it's not where you need to be from a priority viewpoint. LinkedIn is where you need to be. Twitter, if you want to get publicity, it's a really great tool. But be where your customers are hanging out and where you can reach them. That's the most important thing. Don't forget offline content. The temptation is with all the digitalisation, we think about everything just online. So what does your offline content look like? When you go to a meeting and you have a meeting with someone, give them a brochure so they actually take something physical away and can read it. Go through it with them as well. And account-based marketing. Does anyone know what account-based marketing is? Anyone heard that term? Okay. I talked before about understanding your ideal customers and how many people you need. Instead of waiting for people to come to you, account-based targeting, and you guys are probably familiar with this, is actually saying, I want to work with people in manufacturing who've got between 5 and 20 employees. I go out and build a list of people between 5 and 20 employees in manufacturing and target it because I'm damn good at what I do in that market. I understand the market. So why not reach out to those people instead of waiting for them to find me on my website? So reach out to them with that. Look at events like we're doing now. Does anyone here run their own events? Get clients along? Yeah. The other great way to run events, if it's hard to run it by yourself, find some partners to run it with. You might get an accounting firm or someone else, and you invite some of your clients, they invite some of their clients. Get 3 or 4 different people together and they get to meet each other. People get a networking opportunity as well. So it's a good idea to get people together and meet different people that way. And look at your referral networks. I mean, I know you've all got referral networks, it's the way you grow the business, but how do you actively work with those referral networks as well? And if you're looking at that account-based marketing, don't ignore mail as well. Mail, funnily enough, is making a resurgence in limited numbers. So I've got a couple of hundred people I want to reach. It's much more effective rather than send those people an email, because I don't have permission first of all. I can mail them, do a nice brochure on what I do, then follow up by phone or email. Just start with mail sometimes is a great way to do that. An Australia Post is expensive if you're mailing 10,000 people. If you're mailing a couple of hundred, that's a couple $100, and you will stand out from people as well. Okay, we talked about those first 3 stages of look, the insight, understanding your business, the impact, who it is that you're going to impact, and they're going to impact yours, the ideas, but then the main thing is how do you put the whole thing together? You need a plan to put it together. The things that plan needs to contain is responsibilities. Who's going to do what? And that includes responsibilities externally. So if you're a business that has a graphic designer or a website person, make sure they're in the plan and they have allocated responsibilities to do. A budget. You have to set a budget for it. Have a look at your revenue and say, this is how much I'm going to spend on marketing and business development. Don't just say, oh, I'm not sure how much I spend, and ask a marketing guy like me or a website guy, how much should I spend? Do it as a percentage of your revenue. That's what all companies do and should do. Then look at activities by area and by team. If you've got a practice that has multiple areas, don't just look at what you're doing overall in the firm, look at what you're doing in each practice area. Because otherwise what will happen is you'll focus on one practice area and the rest will get ignored. So make sure if you're multidisciplinary, you're doing something in family, you're doing something in conveyancing, you're doing something in commercial, whatever those areas are. And over a calendar over here, you will cover all of those areas that way in terms of doing it. And make sure there's a time to it. January I'm doing this, February I'm doing this, March I'm doing this in these practice areas. So make sure you've got that together in a plan. I want to talk a bit about implementation now, about tools and tech. And if there's anyone here from a practice management software company, I'll take the bullet. Practice management software companies will tell you we do it all. We can do email marketing, marketing, so we can do it all from the practice management system. It doesn't. These days people are moving to what's called a tech stack, specialty software for specialty jobs. So you need, as a basic, practice management software certainly, but you need email marketing software. You need social media tools. You need a sales CRM so you can manage that pipeline we spoke about before. Because all your practice management software is a contact database. That's effectively what it is. It's there to help you manage jobs and do accounting. And accounting systems are notoriously bad for getting data out, doing research on, and knowing who's buying what. You need to know how many people are prospects, how many people you had proposals for, how many people you've sold, what they've got. That's too hard to extract out of practice management software. You need to get an email database and manage all the permissions you need for email marketing to know who's opened, who's clicked, and who's done that sort of stuff as well. Yeah, email marketing is really interesting. I've heard probably for the last 15 years, email marketing is dead. Right? There is still no more effective way to reach business-to-business customers and consumers. There's no other tool I know. If I send a piece of mail out or do a social media ad, I still don't know who's looked at that piece of marketing content and read it. I send an email marketing piece out, I know who's opened it, I know who's clicked on a link, I know exactly what they've looked at on the web page when they've done it. I then know that they're interested in this topic. If you send something out cold, how do you know that? You run an ad, how do you know what they've looked at, what they're interested in? Email marketing is incredibly powerful, so you need the right tool for the day. And you need a marketing CRM that actually tracks what they do. And finally, you may need something to manage projects. There's some simple free tools like Trello, Asana, etc. that will help you manage the projects as well. So think about your tech, don't just rely on practice management software. It doesn't do it all. It does it all, but not very well. Then finally you need to measure. And I put on here some things that we measure typically. So we measure leads, the quantity by stage that I spoke about before, where they came from. Remember I had that funnel with all those 10 different things? You're measuring where they come from as well. Looking at ultimately the cost per lead and the cost per sale. So if you're getting leads from LinkedIn and they're costing you $200 and you're getting a $1,000 client out of it, it's not really going to be worthwhile, right? Your website, visits, pages per visitor, time on site. If you've got a website guy or a digital marketing person, they should be looking at this stuff for you and showing you how to do that. There's a free tool called Google Analytics, and they can actually show you how to do that. You can find someone on the internet, on Upwork or some other site who can do this stuff for you. Don't feel as though you need to do all this stuff yourself, right? That can be done for $100 a month for you outsourced. If you've got someone internally, they can do it even great, but make sure you're getting these numbers because you want to know how many people are going to your website and what pages they're visiting. If they're not visiting a family law page and leaving straight away, you need to change the page. You need to change what's on it. There's something not appealing to it. Those stats tell you what people are engaging with, so they're really important. The email marketing I talked about before, you sent, open and clicked it. And the other thing is the blogs. When people write a piece of content for a blog, don't just write a nice long blog explaining about this area of the law. Put something in the middle halfway through the blog that says, we call it a call to action or CTA, that says, if you want to know more, click here. They may not want to read all the way to the bottom. They might say, oh, that's enough for me. I'll find out more about it. So in your material that you're writing, put those call to actions throughout it as well. And on social, look at likes, comments, engagements, and responses for ads. The other thing is measure the things you said you were going to do and hold people accountable for it, even yourself accountable for it, right? If I said I was going to write a blog a week, at the end of the month say, did I write the blog a week? I said I was going to do 3 LinkedIn posts, did I do 3 LinkedIn posts? Because what you will do by doing that is you'll actually sit down and look at what's working and not working for you and where you're struggling. So in summary, I want you to think about that framework in your own marketing and business development. So design, don't leave it to chance. So I'm going to give you a little challenge. I want you, when you get this slide deck or the PDF of it, to go through and put down and rate yourself on what you're doing on the inside. Those 3 things I talked about, what you're doing on impact, what you're doing in that idea stage for social offline, and just give yourself a little score on integration and implementation. Don't start all of it at once. Go back to the beginning and start with the inside stuff. If you're not doing that well, start there. That will make a massive change. You'll see where the problems are with the business in terms of doing it. And you'll be much more effective in how you're spending your marketing. That's why I call it marketing by design, not by chance. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.